David E Durston is a writer-director who started his career in the industry as an actor all the way back in 1944. In 1964, he directed the drama Felicia, followed by The Love Statue in 1965. Both movies were fine, but he didn't gain much attention until the 1970 release of his first horror film, I Drink Your Blood. Despite the very exploitation-y title, the film was much smarter than was expected, and it received generally favorable reviews, although some lambasted the film for its explicit violence. The film was one of the first in history to receive an X rating for violence rather than nudity. The movie caught the attention of producer Charles Moss Jr. Charles Moss Jr. was the son of Charles Moss Sr., who owned a series of theaters. One day he approached his father and told him he wanted to produce movies. He got the okay and gathered enough funds to produce the horror film Let's Scare Jessica to Death in 1971. Moss contacted Durston and presented him with an idea. He wanted him to make a film about the dangers of syphilis. Durston laughed. While syphilis was initially a horrible STD, now with today's medicine, a shot of penicillin would take care of it. Moss showed him a newspaper article about a new strain of syphilis that appeared in Russia, which was resistant to penicillin and could spread like wildfire in a third world country. Moss told him he wanted Durston to write and direct this film about an out-of-control STD. Durston told him he'd think about it and went off to consult with some medical professionals. He asked them what was the most dangerous thing about syphilis today. They said the worst thing about it was the stigma. The word resonated with him. Stigma. It would make a wonderful title. A stigma can mean so many things. The dictionary description is a lifelong mark of disgrace. At the time, in the 70s, it could be applied to numerous things. A stigma can be seen or unseen. It can be something like a scar or deformity, but also something like an STD. Durston accepted the job, but they still had to get approval from Moss's father. They held a screening of I Drink Your Blood, and Charles Moss Sr. liked it, so he gave his son the okay to make this other film. Durston was into the theater and remembered the story of Heinrich Ibsen's Ghosts. The play included numerous taboo subjects such as religion, incest, and venereal disease. Specifically, congenital syphilis. Congenital syphilis is a disease that occurs when a mother with syphilis passes the infection onto her baby during pregnancy. This sparked the idea to write a script that revolved around a case of congenital syphilis. The story would be about someone who was born with the disease and was willfully passing it around to everyone in this small town. Since this person could hide their stigma, no one knew about it until it was too late. Durston also decided to include other stigmas of the time into the script: prostitution, gays, and even being black. The world of the 1970s was a lot different than the world of today. Moss had this idea for the film for some time, and already had locations lined up for the shoot. They planned on shooting in a few locations in Massachusetts, such as Cape Cod and Nantucket. Durston wrote the script that would take place in a small island town that's ground zero for an outbreak of this new strain of syphilis. With a location already lined up, Durston worked on casting. Durston wrote the lead character as a black doctor who was being released from prison. The doctor made a poor choice and was arrested for performing an illegal abortion. He's called upon by this older doctor to come to this small island town to help him investigate a potential outbreak. Durston was a fan of the theater, and he was in New York to see a Broadway play. One of the actors in the play was a then unknown Philip Michael Thomas. Durston was so impressed he went backstage after the show and offered him the lead role in this upcoming movie. Thomas was overwhelmed because it would not only be his first lead, but also his first movie. Durston originally wanted his friend Lawrence Tierney to play the part of the town's sheriff. The sheriff was written to be a complete racist and was given a name a little on the nose: Sheriff Whitehead. At the time, Tierney had a drinking problem and showed up for his audition disheveled and drunk. Moss was not pleased with this and refused to hire him for the film. They then hired Peter Clune for the role. After that, Moss had no problems with any of the actors Durston wanted to hire. For the other major characters, he hired Harlan Carey Poe to play Bill Waco and Josie Johnson to play Sheriff Whitehead's daughter, Dee Dee. The director worked with Poe on his previous film, The Blue Sextet, only he had a much smaller role there. Filming started in December of 1971. The opening was shot in Boston proper, while they planned to film the rest of the movie in Cape Cod. When Calvin meets Bill, it's meant to show the two characters are at similar but different points in their lives. They've both been discharged, Bill from the army and Calvin from prison. Durston wanted to convey right away the racism in the film. Calvin's trying to get a ride, but no one will stop. They try to get one with just Bill, but once they see Calvin, they drive away. It doesn't matter that he's a doctor, they don't know that. It's just the stigma. All they see is a black man. The locals are very happy to have them making a film there. It was a small production, so it didn't take over the town, which also made everyone happy. Earlier in the film, Bill's watching a film about syphilis. The actor is Bruce Morrow, a famous disc jockey better known as Cousin Brucey. During the film, they used real medical photos of people with syphilis. Durston brought back Rhonda Fuller, who he worked with on I Drink Your Blood. The voice on the tape recorder is the director as Dr. Thor. They rented a house in Massachusetts to be Dr. Thor's residence, where a good chunk of the film would take place. For the scene where Cross is examining the old man, Durston consulted with a doctor about the procedure to test for syphilis. He tried to recreate it as accurately as possible, including looking at the skin under a blue light and taking a sample of spinal fluid. They had to ADR in the dialogue for the lighthouse. Inside the lighthouse there was too much of an echo, so they recorded their lines later in a studio and added in a slight echo effect. For the orgy sequence, Durston wanted to film it in silhouette, but it didn't work, so they tried to show the couples having sex but mostly covered them up. While filming at the lighthouse, Durston saw this sign warning about the noise from the foghorn. This sparked an idea, which made him change the ending. Originally, the doctor and the sheriff were going to get into a fight. Instead, he rewrote the ending so that one of the kids sets off the horn, and the noise makes the sheriff fall off the lighthouse to his death. The shoot ran for about 6 or 7 weeks. Durston said it was an easy shoot. Everyone was wonderful to work with, and Philip Michael Thomas was an absolute professional. Even though this was his first film, he was prepared for every day like an old pro. Durston said he knew he was going to go on to do great things. They submitted the film, and unlike I Drink Your Blood, they were able to get an R without any problems. It was picked up for distribution by Cinemarama Releasing, who were putting out films like Willard, Ben, and Straw Dogs. Durston was happy with the film, and even more excited that it was getting a decent theatrical release. He wasn't sure how audiences would react, and fully expected the film to get pulled from theaters after a week. Then the unexpected happened. The film was getting good reviews. Critics were praising the bold take on the subject matter. They called it intelligent, and one critic even said it should be mandatory viewing for kids 12 and older. The good reviews had more people checking the film out, so it stayed in theaters longer. The director saw this movie as more of a drama than horror, which was a surprise to the people who expected another horror film after seeing I Drink Your Blood. One of the things the director included in the film was something that most reviewers either never picked up on or never mentioned. In the beginning, it shows Cross running into a city barfly or prostitute. She's aggressive and unlikable. Then later in the film, he shows the country whorehouse where all the ladies are friendly, and the madam even brings the guys in to make them breakfast.
Come on in, I'll start you boys off with some breakfast.
After the film, Durston was looking for his next film but ran into a problem. He said something bad about a major network, which pissed someone off, and he was blackballed from the industry. He tried to get work for years after that, but couldn't. Desperate for a job, he took a gig directing a gay porno called Boy Napped in 1975 under the pseudonym Spencer Logan. He followed that up a few years later in 1978 with a 3D gay porno, Manhole. After that, he left the industry. In 1984, 12 years after Stigma, Philip Michael Thomas became a household name with the smash hit TV series Miami Vice, where he played Detective Ricardo Tubbs. In a magazine interview, Thomas was asked, what was the happiest moment in his life? He said it was when David Durston hired me to do his picture, Stigma. As time went on, I Drink Your Blood became a cult film and was restored from its original print. In 2009, Durston was trying to get back into the industry and was in talks to remake I Drink Your Blood, as well as shooting a film in Ireland with Christopher Walken and Tippi Hedren. Unfortunately, neither of those happened because a few months later, Durston died of pneumonia in May of 2010. Stigma is a terrific little film. It feels almost like a play, which makes sense seeing how much the director enjoyed the theater. Philip Michael Thomas is fantastic in the lead. Peter Clune was also terrific as the racist Sheriff Whitehead. When the two go at each other, it's some great stuff. The film does a very good job of representing numerous stigmas throughout the runtime. While it's not as well known as I Drink Your Blood, it's definitely worth tracking down. Durston's directing was solid, and the movie flowed by effortlessly. He did a great job of conveying the subjects of sexism, racism, and various societal stigmas without being heavy-handed or preachy. It presented the topics as they were, and left it up to the audience to make up their minds about what they were seeing. Stigma is a different kind of film than I usually cover. On the surface, it appears to be exploitation, but really, it's not that at all. It's as the critics of the time said, It's an intelligent look at a very taboo topic.
You enjoying yourself?
I may never get it up after this.